Hi, this is Angela from Weft with another of my mixed media tags. So this one is 12.5 by 14 centimeters, which is about 5 by 7 inches. And I've prepared it by adding a couple of layers of gesso and then attaching some white paper over the top so that this side is a little smoother than it would have been if I just left it with gesso. I then sewed around the edge with my sewing machine, but with no thread, because I wanted the hand stitch look, and this will give me an even set of holes to go by. So I've already done the first half, and I've just threaded the thread through. I've knotted it on the back, and I've just threaded it through the hole. Now I'm going to go through the second hole along, and I'm just going to slide the thread through, I don't know if you can see this, through above the knot between the double thread, just to secure it. And now I'll just come back up through this side and back through there. So now that I've got back to the beginning, I'm just going to turn it over and loop the thread through once, twice, and I'm going to leave a little tail. The next step is to stencil. So I'm using these new ones that I've got. They're by Vicky Boutin and they're Colour Study. You get 3 in a packet, and I'm using this one, which is, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's flowers. It's daisies, basically. I'm not going to stencil all over, and because I want this to go into a journal pocket, I'm going to mainly put the areas where I want to put my decorations towards the top, which means I'm probably just going to stencil down the bottom corner here and maybe a little bit up here. So I'll just do that now, and I'm using the Maker Impasto model paste. Oops, not that. I'll fix that in a second. So I'm just going to put the stencil on and stencil over. I think I'll stencil that flower there and then come down and stencil down into this corner. So you just need to spread it on so that it covers the area you want. And then I'm going to take the stencil off and wash it and the palette knife straight away. Otherwise, the stencil material sticks to it. The impasto model paste sticks really badly to this. So I'll just go and wash that. The next stage that I'm going to do with this is spray it with a little bit of water, a little sprayer, just a light mist of water, and then I'm going to use a spray ink. Now this is a Ranger ink. It is Victorian Velvet Distress ink, and I've added 4 drops with a little bit of water just to lighten it up a little bit, because it is a little bit strong for what I want. So I'm now going to spray that on and encourage that to run down the page. I'll let that run off. I've got a mauve one here. It's actually a generic mauve alcohol ink that I've added a little bit of water to because I don't have any mauve distress ink. So I'm just going to spray that on this side, and you'll see you get the same effect. Let's run that up a little bit and let that run off. So I'll have a more pinky reddy side here, and then I've got the mauve side here. Now I wanted the top to be a little bit whiter, so I will use the water spray, and I'm going to wash that off a little bit. So that's a little bit paler. And now I'm going to leave that to dry. Now that this is dry, I'm going to use the all-purpose ink for Fantastics. It's Champagne Mist. So all I do with this is I don't use an ink pad. I just shake it up, and I have a little bit of ink in the lid. Just dip my sponge into that, and I'm just going to brush it across the top of the petals to give them a little bit of sparkle. If you run out of ink on that, you just shake it again. Some more on, and I'm just going to keep rubbing. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's just a little amount of sparkle on these petals. I'll just catch a little bit on the insides of the centers, the little spots there. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that is shining just a little bit. Now I'm going to ink around the edge with Walnut Stain as Distressing by Ranger. Just gives the edges a little lift. And as a last bit, I'm just going to cover some of this so that I don't get the glimmer mist everywhere. But I'm going to use Nuovo Mica Mist. It's gold. I'm just going to spray a little bit. I just want to spray across the corner. Next bit is to decorate the card itself. So I'm going to use some coffee dyed cheesecloth, which I will adhere to the card. And I have a piece of die cut mesh here that I'm going to also use. And then lastly, I'm going to use this die cut leaf. So I'm going to do some layering in this corner. I've got a piece of old book here that I've inked the edges on using walnut stain from the Ranger range. And I have a die cut here that I have covered with gesso, and then I've sprayed it with Nuovo. This is antique gold spray. So I'm just going to put that up in the corner there. Put enough glue on to hold it, but I'm not going to glue absolutely everywhere. So I'll just lay that over the top. And then I'm going to start with this piece of card, which will go here, and then I'll add another couple of layers to it, but I want to ink this first along the edges with the same ink. So again, it's the Ranger ink, it's the walnut stain, and I'm just lightly inking the edges. And I'll glue that on. So that is going to sit there, and I'll just offset it so it's not quite straight. I'm going to layer this with a gum nut and a gum cup, I should say. I made these out of cold porcelain, and they're on wire, and then I've painted them with gold paint. In order to do this, I'm going to use the hot glue gun, because that's the only way I'm going to get wire to stick really well to this. So my glue gun's now hot. I'm just going to put some glue along the back of this and glue it down. I'm going to take this, actually I'm going to ink this first, so I'm going to use the same walnut stain and just lightly ink around the edge of this. And I'll glue this to this piece of paper that I've cut. Which is a pearlized kind of paper. It's not completely flat matte. And then I'm going to glue this onto this piece of cardboard so that it covers my two pieces that I just joined there, just glued there, which are the gum nut pieces. So I'll just glue that over. And I'll leave the ends peeking out. That doesn't glue down. I might have to hot glue it down. No, it's fine. Okay, I have also a butterfly here, so I'm thinking I might put that to join the two pieces, but I'd like to stain that. This is now dry, so I'm going to just ink the edges just a little bit to give it a bit of definition. And again, I'm using the walnut stain. And I think I'll put my little butterfly here. So I've still got my hot glue gun on, so I will do that with hot glue. I'm now going to finish this off with some liquid pearls. It's the bisque colour. So I'm just going to put a little bit at the head of the butterfly, a little bit in the centre of the leaf. And I'm going to do all these little dots that are in the center of the flowers with just a little bit of the paint, just to give them a little bit more definition. And I'm going to use a couple of dots here, one here, one here, a little bit more, make that a little bit bigger, and one over here to look like studs. Now that everything's dry, I'm going to back it with a piece of coffee dyed cardboard. Just going to run some glue around the back, and I can get the glue to work. Here we go. Just going to make sure that end is tucked in. Right around the edge. And squiggle across the middle. And glue that down. I'll just cut this out. And just so the back isn't completely blank, I'm just going to go around the edge with the walnut stain. String there. And I'm going to add a little stamp to the back. I'm going to put a butterfly on there. So I'm just going to use the big one. It's still on the acetate. I'm just going to leave it there. Press that on and just put a little butterfly in the corner. Now I said I was going to just put a tag on this, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to use a little bit of brown vintage cotton seam binding. So I've just put a little hole in there, and it's just got a little butterfly on the back. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe link below.